And I would like to open my lecture saying that this is the first time I present here as a official representative of our International Association for Medical Cannabis. This is my pleasure to introduce you our really international association. I would like you to visit our website. Later I will speak more about it because we have probably the best website in the world saying more about medicinal uses of cannabis. I would like to speak more about our current model of medicine, what have been done, and where are we standing now. I would like to speak about medicine. What is it? Personalized medicine. How it could be addressed to your personal needs. What about a cannabinoid medicine? What does it mean? How we could personalize medicine using various cannabinoid-based substances. It is a tricky question. I hope to find it with you also. We will discuss the future needs and needs for collaboration. I have nothing to declare. I am a private physician. I am a psychiatrist and neuropsychiatrist. I work in Israel, and I provide my personal consultation for wide range of patients. So I don't work for any government officers and public health organization. I would like to begin with some definitions. What about the medicine? How it could be individualized? Because now the current model of medicine is super unindividualized. The current approach does not see each individual patient in himself. So you could not find any pharmaceutical company that had been able to produce any medicine addressed for your particular needs, for the needs of particular patients or even patients groups. We have more than 700 so-called orphan disorders. Or disorder that could not be had, and we don't know about these diseases. We know how to define this disease, but we unfortunately do not have any applicable solution for them, because there is no pharmaceutical company that had been able to produce any kind of relevant medication addressed to these patients' needs. So this is just one of the examples of hugely unpersonalized medicine that's existing now. And the outcome of this approach is bothering of all parties that concern about the investments. So government and governmental bodies in all countries invest a lot of monies and efforts in order to improve care and health care for patients. And unfortunately, majority of our patients in all areas of medicine, internal medicine, oncology, surgery, their needs are not addressed. So this is why now the whole issue of individualized therapy had been so important. You could see this graph of the huge number of publications per year. I don't have the number for the last 3 years, but I suppose that according to this tendency, it should be very, very high. So this is number of publications on the precision medicine, personalized healthcare, individualized medicine, and P4 medicine. So you could understand how huge the interest of medical community and any kind of community to such approach, because the previous approach had been claimed as wrong, because it doesn't bring any relevant solution for majority of our patients. The needs of huge proportion of such population are not met. Now, the President Obama declared the era of precise medicine. It happened just in the beginning of this year. He declared that they will invest a lot of money and efforts in order to change the current situation, to change drastically the face of current medicine, bringing personalizing approach closer to patients, addressing his needs, instead to be addressed the needs of the pharmaceutical companies or huge healthcare cartels or organizations. This is a very good initiative of administration of U.S. Was very, very welcomed. And many people just ask, how you try to do it? What are your approaches? How we could combine our genes, our genome, together with all this medicine? You could not find you know that any particular pill has nothing with your illness. It's just the same pill addressed for the thousands of patients. This pill doesn't know nothing about you, about your individual tolerance profile, about your allergic effects, etc., etc. So how it should be individualized is anyway, because the previous approach should be discouraged. This is a huge discussion in the whole scientific literature since the beginning of current years. How these issues could be addressed, how we treat some particular patients and not average patients, because we are not the same. We are very, very different in all our meanings, in our biology, genetic structure, personal attitudes, preferences, tendencies, habits, etc., etc., etc. It all should be taken in account, saying what kind of therapeutic approach should be applied for this particular patient. Saying about this, we should come to medicinal cannabis, saying probably using cannabis. I don't like saying medicinal cannabis. I suppose the cannabis is a cannabis, but we can use it for medical purposes. As well as previous lecture told us, the borders between medical and non-medical use are not so sharp. There is a huge overlap between medical and non-medical use. Some recreational use could be used for medical purposes, and sometimes could be used for just doping tendency, doping goals. It also could be okay in the era of legalization, but these people should not be claimed as a criminal. From the other side, some of our patients, even after being cured after the life-threatening disease like cancer, are going to use cannabis for many years. Why? Sometimes they have asthenia, post-cancerous asthenia. Sometimes they have a depression, post-cancer depression. Even they do not have a metastatic active disease now. So in Israel, such patients are being reduced from their licenses. And this is our huge medical injustice for such patients, because Ministry of Health claim us that they just cured, they don't need to use anymore the medical cannabis, and they should be taken out of their license. Why? I suppose this is a good example of medical injustice had been made for such patients. Well, we suppose that the cannabis and use of cannabis for medical purposes is much better addressed to the personal needs of majority of the patients for very approachable and affordable costs. Sure, the cost of treatment it is a matter and should be in account. But I am speaking about general approach. Using of cannabis allow us to be much more personalized to such particular patient. The matter, but from the other part, this is a huge mess. We have a lot of so-called medicinal users of cannabis. We have so the current old standing approach to the medicine that we should have approved indications for any kind of medical device, medical approach for pill, it just doesn't work for cannabis. How it could be possible to find exact indication when I prescribe cannabis for such persons with low back pain, mild to moderate, premenstrual symptoms, moderate to severe, and mild headache? How it could be approached for them? It should be allowed for them to use for such patients, because each one of these indications are not allowed to be recognizable for any kind of so-called approachable, legitimate indication for cannabis. But this person certainly will benefit from medical cannabis, from cannabis for this woman medical problem. This is an obvious problem. The previous speaker just told us about it. And it should be not matter of any criminal justice. It should be a matter of our medical approach. They should be addressed. Their needs should be addressed on the personalized matter. But we have much more problems came from patients and from the substance. Because the cannabis, as you know, have many, many, many faces. Many, many faces should be studied. Many faces should be learned. How we could personalize medicine where we have a so huge variety of cannabis available. Please speak about the system where the cannabis could be allowed, could be legitimate, as it has been done in Canada, in Netherlands, in Israel in some extent. We should come from approach saying that one pill could be curable for thousands of patients. Now we should elaborate a very quantitative approach to the patients, some patients saying, for your particular needs, we will find some particular kind of cannabinoid-based therapy. Sometimes I use in my practice Sativex together with plant medicine. And I suppose this is a combined approach, is some kind of the model of very personalized medicine, where some patients use Sativex at morning, because Sativex has a longer period of action, and they use inhaled cannabis at evening time, because it has more psychoactive reaction, and he should not drive, and it will be safe and very efficient to him in such approach. So we need to adjust to such patients a particular medicine, a particular strain, and to advise him how to use it wisely, to reduce harm, to reduce any potential dangerous effect of the unsafe driving, and to say it is okay to use and Sativex and your anti-inflammatory pill if you need it, and to use inhaled cannabis at night, but in the proper proportion. We just need to know better about it, and all of you should remember, as it was reported by Professor Hanush, who is my teacher, and I'm very proud to being able to work with him. It does not fit everyone as the same matter. We should explain it to our patients. It doesn't cure every disease at the same extent, and it does not treat every stage of disease. For some patients or caregivers or family members, it is not clear. We need to emphasize our education efforts in order to say it again and again. It is not universal medicine for everybody, but it could be used for many, many patients that now are just placed out of the circle of this medication. We have various abilities to provide such. We have phytocannabinoids, we have synthetic cannabinoids, and we should combine them in each particular patient. We just to know more about it. We just need to know more about each individual tolerability profile, his just personal preferences. You know, the smell of cannabis is different from strain to strain, and its acceptance is different from patient to patient. We have, thanks God, we have a lot of administration form. Here, this is a slide of my friend, Professor Rudolph from Bern, and he said we have various forms of application. We just need to know how to use it wisely. To whom our patients we should advise to use tinctures or teas, edibles, suppositoria, and other form of cannabinoids should be used for such patients. We need to personalize our approach, but in the same time, we first need to educate and patients and family members and caregivers, and most importantly, doctors, because the real obstacles are lying in the field of medical community. The medical establishment is very conservative, and its attitudes could not be changed very easily. Now, for the last 3 years, I have observed the major changes in attitudes of our medical community in Israel. 5 years before, I observed some inadequate reaction when I spoke with them about cannabis. They asking, what about you are speaking? I said, about marijuana, and they are looking aside saying, why are you speaking for me about it? It is dangerous. Because they free association, when I spoke with them about cannabis, it were handcuff. So now, thanks God, and thanks all of current changes, they associated not with police and criminal law. They association with medicine. So we already changed an atmosphere. This is a very positive changes that had been happened now, and they are currently happening in this country. And I am happy to be able to provide a lot of education and assistance to Czech doctors in Prague this year, in Brno this year, and I hope to be able to provide much more education for them in further. But we need to elaborate personalized approach. Could we expect that the cannabis could substitute all current existing medicine, all current pills? And I don't think so. I suppose that in some proportion is yes, in some proportion is not. We just need to be very steadily and to understand what we are able to reach and what we are not able to reach. For example, 90% of my patients, that were who came to my professional attendance, reduced their antidepressive and anti-anxiety medication. Majority of post-traumatic patients reduced mostly their medication regimen. Not all of them and not all medications. But this is a gross reduction of the cost and a side effect for this medication. It should be taken into account for example, for economic reasons. But not of all of them. We could not expect cannabis medicine to substitute all medicine existing, but in Israel now we have 25,000 current cannabis-treated patients. And we expect this number being raised steadily for another 10 years to probably 100,000. In 100,000 patients, they probably will reduce at least half of their medication. It will be a huge challenge to all existing medical companies, pharmaceutical companies. It will be changed the face of current medicine. But we need to know better how medicine, how cannabinoid-based medicine changed our brain function. Because, you know, THC is working on CB1 receptors that are concentrated in the cortex, in the brain. So we need to understand this better. Now, our neuroscience is far from this approach, unfortunately, but I hope we will understand it better. This is why we need to work in collaboration with preclinical researchers, and we need to understand better other meanings. So we need to work better with genetics. They know better about genetics properties of different strains of cannabis. In my vision, it is in near future we could order or we could suggest patients to grow up their medicine that could be completely suitable for their needs, because we already have all genome of cannabis is transferred, and it's already public domain in majority countries. It is public domain, the code of marijuana. So we already know what kind of genome code which function. And I suppose this slide probably being maybe most important in my presentation, saying this is my vision, we could reduce drastically the way from patient to his medicine, not waiting for pharmaceutical companies for their very costly procedure, but we just need to elaborate approach, wise approach, patient addressed and patient need addressed based on his malady and based on genetics of cannabis that we could put together and to suggest them as a highly personalized medicine. This is a whole idea of my presentation. Of course, medical use does not require legalization. We could use cannabis for various ways, not just direct smoking. You probably would not like to have doctors that would advise you to smoke your medicine. We have another more effective approaches to this, and we should work more to educate doctors how to advise and how they patients cannabis, and this is work of our association. We just try to educate doctors in different countries to use this approach. This is a whole perspective of personalized medicine, putting together predictive, preventive, and personalized approach, genomics, information technology, and patient environment. This is our whole concept of cannabis-addressed, cannabis-based personalized medicine. You know, it's already going to be a mainstream. This is a Nature, the most important scientific journal in the world. Nature Outlook, just published in last September, whole issue addressed cannabis. This is a huge recognition of scientific community of the world, of all our achievements that had been made for the last years. But look, even for this Nature, who subsidized this edition? You see? GW. So largest pharmaceutical companies would like to have their hands in whole this business. I would like to, this is Nature Outlook. I advise you to read. It's in free access in web. It is just giving you the whole picture where cannabinoid medicine is standing now. They senior editor even suggest that we are on the way for full legalization. Maybe yes, maybe no. This is a political issue. But the recognition of the scientific community of such cannabinoid-based medicine and scientific approaches, not mystical approaches, not culturally driven, but scientific driven, and making this medicine as a personalized addressed medicine, we are on the way too. This is my hope and my appreciation to being with me. Thank you.